My girlfriend told me, if you can't handle my life, just leave. I said, fine. Then I froze all our joint cards and took a 5 a.m. flight home while she slept, and the moment I landed, she began calling me relentlessly. Emotional hook, 0 to 10 seconds. Have you ever had someone look you dead in the eye, tell you to leave their life, and expect you to just stay? Because when my girlfriend, Alina, threw those words at me, leave if you can't handle my world, I didn't argue. I just quietly packed my bags, froze every single shared account, and disappeared. And you won't believe the chaos that unleashed. Start story, Jake's perspective. My name's Jake. I'm 28, and up until a few days ago, Alina, 27, was my girlfriend. We'd been together almost 2 years, living together for one. This story starts in her hometown, where we'd just landed for a long weekend. She called it a work social crossover. I called it exhausting. From the moment we arrived, it was like walking into a different dimension. Fancy dinners, endless small talk with people who spoke entirely in job titles, constant whispers about who mattered and who didn't.
And Alina? She changed.
The woman I knew, the one I loved, was replaced by someone colder, sharper. Every sentence she spoke to me felt like a test I didn't even know I was taking. Don't say that here. Just smile. God, you're being embarrassing. It was a constant barrage of subtle cuts, each one chipping away at me. I tried to ignore it, tried to just get through the weekend. But on the second night, at dinner, something snapped. It wasn't dramatic, no shouting or grand scene. I just looked at her and said, "You don't have to talk to me like that." She actually laughed. Not a nervous laugh, not an awkward one, but a dismissive, almost amused laugh. She swirled the drink in her hand, looked around at the hushed table, at her friends who were now smirking like they were watching some live entertainment, and she just said, "This is my world, Jake. If you can't handle it, you should leave." I waited. I waited for the just kidding, for the softening, for any sign that she didn't actually mean it. But it didn't come. Her eyes were hard. So I looked back at her and just said, "Okay." She rolled her eyes. "Don't be dramatic. You know what I mean." But I didn't. And I didn't say another word. I paid the check, walked out, and let her storm ahead of me back to the hotel, already glued to her phone, probably complaining to someone about how I'd ruined her night. She fell asleep fast, like nothing had happened. I, however, stayed wide awake. The decision and escape, lying there in that too-fancy hotel bed, staring at the ceiling, I knew what I had to do. Around 3 a.m., I opened my banking app and, with a strange mix of fear and resolve, froze every single shared card we had. The rent card, the travel card, the emergency card. She always joked about forgetting to pay things back. Not anymore. At 4:15, I packed my bag.
Quietly.
Every movement was slow, deliberate. At 5 a.m., I ordered a ride to the airport. And at 5:42, I was on a flight home. She was still sleeping soundly when the plane took off. The moment my plane landed, my phone exploded. It lit up like a Christmas tree on fire, buzzing nonstop in my hand, vibrating with a frantic energy that almost felt like anger. I didn't answer the first 10 calls, or the next 20. I just sat at the gate, backpack between my feet, watching the screen. Missed calls, voicemails piling up, text starting polite, then confused, then sharp. "Where are you? This isn't funny. Jake, pick up. You're seriously being immature right now." I waited until I was safely in the air on my connecting flight before I started to read the longer messages. The tone shifted fast. At first, it was pure irritation. How dare I make her late for brunch plans? How embarrassing it was that I'd stormed off. Then the messages turned logistical. "My card isn't working. Did you move money? The hotel says the incidentals card was declined." That's when I knew she was awake. I could picture it perfectly. Alina, in that pristine white hotel robe, hair messy, but still somehow perfectly styled. Standing at the front desk with that tight smile she used when things weren't going her way, laughing it off, making a joke, expecting the problem to bend to her will. But it didn't. By the time I landed, The messages had turned frantic. Why would you freeze the cards? This is not okay. Answer me now. I finally picked up one call. Not to talk, just to hear her. Are you out of your mind? She snapped the second I said hello. No, hello. No concern. Just raw, furious anger. The card is frozen, Jake. Fix it. I'm home, I said, my voice steady despite the tremor in my hand. There was a pause. A real one this time. What do you mean, home? She asked, her voice barely a whisper. I took you at your word, I replied. You said leave if I couldn't handle your world. Her voice dropped, becoming that icy calm she used right before an explosion. You don't get to decide that in the middle of my trip. I didn't, I said. You did. She laughed, sharp and disbelieving. You think this is you standing up for yourself? You just abandoned me. No, I said quietly. I exited. That's when she started yelling. About flights, about embarrassment, about how she had meetings and plans and people waiting on her. Not once did she ask why I left. Just how it inconvenienced her. I hung up when she started calling me selfish. A minute later, my phone buzzed again. This time it wasn't a call. It was a photo. A screenshot of her banking app. 0 access, 0 funds. Under it, one single, chilling line of text. You better fix this before you ruin everything. I stared at the message, then slowly, deliberately, put my phone face down on the table. For the first time in months, the silence that followed felt like pure relief. The aftermath, by the time I finally got home, my phone battery was at 12%, but my nerves were steady in a way that felt unfamiliar. I dropped my bag by the door, sank onto my couch, and finally listened to one of her voicemails. Jake, this is not funny. Her voice tight and clipped. I have plans. You don't get to just disappear and sabotage me because you had a bad night. Sabotage. Not hurt. Not confused. Sabotage. I plugged my phone in and watched the messages roll in like a live feed. The hotel needs a card to keep my room. My Uber got declined. I'm literally stuck. Then, about 20 minutes later, a different tone. Okay, let's calm down. We can talk when you fix this. I didn't mean it like that. That one almost made me laugh. I texted back, short and simple. You told me to leave. I did. 3 dots appeared immediately. You're twisting my words. You know how I talk. Everyone was drinking. There it was. The rewrite. I didn't respond. Instead, I logged into our shared accounts and separated everything. My money back where it belonged. Automatic payments canceled. Streaming services switched to my email. The little conveniences she never noticed because they just worked. 10 minutes later, she called again. I answered this time. Are you seriously doing this right now? She demanded. I'm at the front desk and they're asking questions. I'm sure you'll figure it out, I said, a strange calm in my voice. Her voice sharpened. I shouldn't have to figure it out. You're my boyfriend. I paused.
Were.
You made that pretty clear. She scoffed. You're acting like I kicked you out. I was just being honest. Honest doesn't mean careless, I replied. And it doesn't mean I have to stay. Silence. Then, quieter, more dangerous. You're going to regret this. That was the moment something finally snapped into place for me. Maybe, I said. But not today. She hung up on me. 5 minutes later, I got a notification. She tagged me in an Instagram story. Some vague quote about men who can't keep up and knowing your worth. I stared at it for a second, then muted her. She thought this was about control. She hadn't realized yet that I'd already let go. I thought muting her would slow things down. It didn't. By noon, her friends started reaching out. Not asking what happened, but telling me what I'd done. Apparently, I was emotionally unstable, insecure, pulling a power move because I couldn't keep up. Funny how quickly the story gets written when one person controls the narrative. One message stuck out. She's stranded. This is cruel. You always knew how important this trip was to her. Always knew. That phrase again. As if knowing meant agreeing to be treated like an accessory. Alina called again around 1 p.m. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity got the better of me.
Her voice was different this time.
Controlled. Careful. Okay, she said. Let's reset. You made your point. I wasn't making a point, I replied. I was listening. She exhaled sharply. You're being dramatic. You know I didn't mean leave, literally. That's the problem, I said. You say things you don't mean and expect people to just absorb it. She paused, then switched tactics. I'm embarrassed, Jake. People are asking why you're not here. I waited. Well, she snapped. Aren't you going to apologize?
No.
Her breath hitched. So, what? You're just done. I looked around my apartment. Quiet, familiar, suddenly peaceful. I think I've been done longer than I realize. That set her off. You think you're better than me now? She spat. You think running home makes you strong? No, I said calmly. It just makes me not miserable. She laughed bitterly. You'll come crawling back. You always do. That confidence, that certainty that I'd fold, told me everything I needed to know about how she saw me. I'm not freezing the cards forever, I added. I'm closing shared access. You'll need to handle your own expenses. There it was. Panic, bleeding through the anger. You can't do that, she cried. I didn't plan for this. I know, I replied. I always did. She went quiet. Not angry, not sarcastic. Afraid. I need you right now, she said softly. For the first time, I didn't feel pulled by it. I needed you to not treat me like an inconvenience, I said. We're even. She hung up without another word. 5 minutes later, the calls started again. I didn't answer. Somewhere between takeoff and landing, I'd finally left her world. She just hadn't caught up yet. The shift, the silence didn't last. Around mid-afternoon, she stopped calling and started thinking. That's when the messages got longer and meaner. You know, everyone thinks this is unhinged, right? My friends are asking if you're having some kind of breakdown. You really showed your true colors. I read them all without replying. It was strange how predictable it felt. When anger didn't work, she went for shame. When shame didn't work, she reached for authority. Everyone thinks. People are saying. Around 4 p.m., she finally admitted the real problem. They won't extend my room without a valid card. There it was. No emotion, no reflection, just logistics. I typed, then deleted, then finally sent one sentence. You'll need to put it on your own card. The reply came instantly. I don't have one with that limit. I could practically hear her pacing the hotel hallway, phone pressed to her ear, that tight smile cracking as the staff waited politely for an answer she didn't have. Jake, be reasonable, she wrote next. This is humiliating. That word again. Humiliating. Not hurting, not confusing, just humiliating because it was happening in front of other people. I sat back on my couch and realized something quietly important. She didn't miss me. She missed what I handled. The next call came from a number I didn't recognize. Hi, a woman said carefully. This is Alina's friend. She's really upset. She didn't mean what she said. I sighed. She said it clearly. Well, the woman continued, relationships are about compromise. They are, I agreed. Ultimatums aren't. There was an awkward pause. So, are you going to help her? I thought about it. About the dinners where I'd been corrected mid-sentence. The jokes at my expense. The way she'd say my world like I was just visiting. No, I said. I already did. I left. I hung up before she could respond. That evening, Alina finally sent a message without anger, without sarcasm. I didn't think you'd actually go.
I stared at it for a long time.
Then I replied, neither did I. That was the first honest thing either of us had said all day. Night hit before I realized how tired I was. Not physically, but emotionally. The kind of exhaustion that comes from being on for someone for too long. I made myself dinner. Something simple. And for the first time in weeks, I ate without checking my phone every 2 minutes. She didn't stop, though. Calls, texts, voice notes, long paragraphs followed by single words like please and answer me. Around 10 p.m., she switched again. This time to anger mixed with panic. Do you have any idea how this makes you look? People are talking. You could have just talked to me like an adult. That one annoyed me more than it should have. I finally replied. I did. You laughed. There was a long pause, longer than usual. Then, I was drunk. I was stressed. You know how much pressure I'm under. I set my phone down and stared at the ceiling. Pressure. Always pressure. Somehow there was always pressure on her, and I was just supposed to absorb it quietly. At midnight, she called again. I answered. Her voice was shaky now. No sharp edges left. I can't sleep, she said. This doesn't feel real. It is, I replied. You really left, she whispered. Yes. Another pause. Then, so what am I supposed to do? That question did it. Not because it was cruel, but because it was honest. I don't know, I said. That's yours to figure out. She started crying then. Not loud, just small broken sounds, like she was trying not to be heard by whoever was sharing the room with her. I didn't think you'd actually walk away, she said. You always stayed. I stayed because I thought you cared, I replied. Not because I couldn't leave. She went quiet. When she spoke again, her voice was flat. So that's it. You're just done. I took a breath. I think I've been done for a while. I just finally caught up. She hung up without saying goodbye. A few minutes later, I got one last message before everything went quiet. I hope you know what you're doing. I looked around my apartment, my space, my silence, my life, and typed back. For the first time in a long time, I do. Then I put my phone down and went to sleep. The finality. I woke up to 17 missed calls, all from her, and one from an unknown number that I didn't answer. I didn't need to. I already knew it was one of her friends, probably calling to check in while actually trying to pressure me into fixing things. I didn't feel panicked. I felt steady. That scared me a little. Around 9 a.m., Alina finally sent a text that wasn't angry or pleading. It was calculated. We need to talk like adults. This is getting out of hand. I stared at it while drinking my coffee. The irony almost made me choke. We had talked. She just hadn't liked the outcome. I replied. We already did. You told me to leave. I listened. 3 disappeared, appeared again. You're acting like I threw you out on the street. I was frustrated. You know how my world works. There it was again. My world. I typed slowly. Your world didn't have room for me unless I stayed quiet. Her response came fast. That's not true. You just couldn't keep up. You always took things personally. I felt that familiar irritation, then watched it pass. Funny how powerless insults become when you're no longer trying to be chosen. An hour later, she sent a voice note. I almost didn't listen, but curiosity won. Her voice sounded brittle. I'm still here, she said. I had to downgrade rooms. Everyone keeps asking where you are. This is humiliating. Still humiliating. Still about appearances. I didn't think you'd actually do this, she added. You always needed me more than I needed you. That one stung, but not the way she intended. I texted back. That's what you told yourself, so you didn't have to be careful with me. No reply. Then nothing for almost 3 hours. When my phone finally buzzed again, it was a photo. Her suitcase, half-packed, on a hotel bed. The caption, so, this is really happening. I looked at it, felt a strange mix of sadness and relief, and typed one last thing. Yes, it is. I didn't block her. I didn't need to. She was finally starting to understand that when you tell someone to leave, sometimes they do. And they don't come back apologizing. The quiet after that felt different. Not peaceful yet, just empty, like the static had finally cut out and my ears were still adjusting. She didn't message again that afternoon. No calls, no passive-aggressive quotes, nothing. That worried me more than the chaos had. Silence was never her move. Silence meant she was regrouping. Around 7 p.m., I finally heard from her. I talked to my mom. Of course she did. She says you're being dramatic and punishing me instead of communicating. I stared at the screen, feeling that familiar pull to explain myself, to justify, to smooth things over. I let it pass. Then another message. But she also asked why I told you to leave if I didn't mean it. That one made me sit up. I didn't have an answer, she added. I imagine her pacing that hotel room, replaying the dinner, the words, the tone she'd used because she was used to getting away with it. Used to me swallowing things, so she didn't have to. She called a few minutes later. I answered. I didn't think it would go this far, she said quietly.
It didn't, I replied.
It just went where you pointed it.
She sighed.
I was angry. You embarrass me. I almost laughed. By existing? You know what I mean? She snapped, then caught herself. I mean, you don't always fit. There it was. The truth she'd been circling for months. I never asked to fit into your world, I said. I asked to be respected in it. She was quiet for a long time. So, what now? She asked finally. I thought about it. About how calm I felt. About how I hadn't once wished I were back there fixing things. Now you finish your trip, I said. And I stay home. That's it, she asked. Yes. Her voice dropped to a whisper. You're really not coming back. No, I said. I already did what you told me to.
She didn't argue this time.
She just said, okay. And for the first time, it sounded like she actually understood what that word meant. Conclusion. The next morning felt unreal. No alarms going off early, so I could match her schedule. No checking my phone first thing to see if I'd already messed something up overnight. Just quiet sunlight through my blinds. Coffee that I drank slowly instead of between apologies. She didn't contact me until almost noon. When she did, it wasn't a call. It was a long message, the kind that's clearly been typed, deleted, rewritten, then sent anyway. I'm coming home tomorrow, she wrote. We need to figure out logistics. I don't know what you're expecting, but I can't just pretend this never happened. That last line almost impressed me. Almost. I replied a few minutes later. You'll need to make other arrangements. I'm not pretending either. Her response came fast. So, I'm just not welcome in my own apartment now. I read that twice. My apartment, she'd said for months. Funny how it was suddenly ours again. The lease is in my name, I typed. You know that. She didn't answer right away. When she did, it was a voice note. You're really doing this, she said, disbelief creeping back in. After everything we've been through, you're just erasing me? I'm not erasing you, I said when I called her back. I'm separating from you. That's the same thing, she snapped. It's not, I replied. Erasing is pretending nothing happened. I remember everything. She went quiet, then softer. I didn't think you'd actually choose yourself. Neither did I admitted. I didn't plan to. I just got tired of choosing you when you never chose me. She sighed, long and shaky. So what? You're done.
Done.
I looked around my apartment again. My place, my rules, my peace. And felt something settle deep inside me. Yes, I said. I am.
She didn't argue this time. She just said, okay.
I'll pack my things when I get back. After we hung up, I sat there for a while, letting it sink in. I hadn't left angry. I hadn't left to teach her a lesson. I left because she told me to, and for the first time, I believed her. She came back 2 days later, not to talk, not to fix anything, just to collect what was hers. I wasn't home when she arrived. That was intentional. I'd left a note on the counter with a time window and instructions. Boxes by the door, closet cleared on my side. No confrontation, no audience. She texted once while she was there. This feels unreal. I read it an hour later and didn't reply. When I got back that evening, the apartment felt different. Lighter. Her things were gone. Shoes, makeup, the framed photos from trips she'd always said were for the aesthetic. Even the couch pillows she'd insisted on buying were missing.
Good.
The last thing she left behind was a key on the counter. That night, she sent one final message. I didn't think telling you to leave would actually make you go. I thought you'd fight. I stared at the screen for a long time before typing. I fought by staying for a year longer than I should have. 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again, then nothing. No more calls, no more stories, no more friends reaching out on her behalf. The noise finally stopped. A week later, someone asked me if I regretted it, if I wished I'd handled it more gently. Here's the truth. I didn't leave to hurt her. I left because the moment someone tells you to leave, they're telling you exactly how much space you have in their life. She thought her world was something I was lucky to be allowed into. Turns out, I was the one holding the door open the whole time. When I finally stepped out, it didn't collapse. It just kept going without her voice in my head telling me I didn't belong. And for the first time since I met her, I didn't feel like I was visiting someone else's life. I was back in mine. Call to action. It's been a wild ride and honestly, a lot to process. What would you have done if your partner told you to leave? Have you ever had to walk away from someone who thought you'd never actually go? Let me know in the comments below. I really want to hear your thoughts on this.